J Tank, man, J Tank was, it was cracking. It was cracking. um, I get to J Tank, and I fucking I see my old Sally. This crazy bitch. Yeah, she's there. So that's why I kick away. Man, okay, so check this out. Okay, so I end up sitting in this table, right, with all these other girls who end up becoming my friends. And one of them right now is my really good friend. Shout out to my homegirl Kelly. Hey girl. And yeah, so then I go, you know, it's fucking breakfast. I sit with my homegirl Kelly's table, whatever. Go back to our cell, and my celly's like, oh, in lunch, sit next to me. So I sit next to my celly. I think, you know what, now that I think about it, you probably set me up for that shit, huh, bitch? Fuck you if you did. But anyways, so this lady, you know, I sit next to my celly, and this lady's like, you're in my seat. And I'm like, no, I'm not. You're in my seat. I sit there. We don't have assigned seats. That's my seat. That's where I sit. Well, I'm not moving. And then she was pissed, bro. She was pissed. And I'm like, I'm sorry, lady, but I'm not moving. Like, we don't have assigned seats. You don't have to sit here. You can sit anywhere you want. I want to sit here. And that's that. Like, she was pissed, bro. She took my napkin and she was like, I think she called me like, I forgot. She said something racist. And then, but yeah, so I sit there, whatever. And she ends up going to the end of the fucking table. But she was pissed, dude. She was hella pissed. And, but finally, yeah, I remember finally my celly's like, I told her to sit there because we don't like you sitting with us. And she was just like, oh shit, okay, bitch, okay. But so my friend Kelly, it was two Kellys. My friend the Kellys, one of them was like, that's fucked up. And then I'm like, shit, the fuck, there ain't no assigned seats, yo. Like, I'ma sit here if I want to fucking sit here. The fuck. So I went in that bitch like making a statement without even wanting to though. Like, I was just sitting there, and I was like, bitch, I run this shit. If I want to sit here, bitch, and you've been sitting here since you got here a year ago, bitch, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna sit here. You feel me? If not, take off on who you mad at, bitch. Bet you won't. Okay. Nah, but, yeah. But you know what? J-Tank, it was dope, dude. Like, there was a lot of good times. But I had hella fun, yo. Like, for, like, our birthdays, we would, like, make cakes out of, you know, anything sweet that would be cookies and chocolates and all kinds of shit. And then I remember I learned how to make fucking Chinese food. My Chinese food was fire, yo. We would use, they used to give us Oriental noodles, and we would use syrup. We would get pancakes every Sunday, so we would save our syrup, and then our Kool-Aid, with our Kool-Aid we would use that too. Okay, so then, and then we would buy jelly on commissary. So with the syrup and the noodles and the seasoning, we would make the chow mein. That shit was fire. And then with the jelly and the Kool-Aid and the pork rinds, and then we would use the summer sausage to have like more meat. But yeah, we would make this, if it was like fruit punch Kool-Aid, it was sweet and sour pork. And then if it was like the orange Kool-Aid, it was orange pork, because we would use the pork rinds. And yeah, that shit was fire, yo. That shit was fire. I used to love making that shit. And then we used to have like white rice that we could make, and we would buy the soy sauce for the white rice. That shit was fire. I used to love eating that. And then obviously the spreads, the nachos. My friend, she would get down with the nachos. But I wasn't able to sleep in there, so I got myself on sleeping pills. And we used to get our pills at like after dinner, so it was like around 6. I used to be out for the count by 7, yo. And then it would suck though because I would wake up like at 10, back up at 10:30, and this was PM, and obviously PM. We used to lock down at 11, so I would be hella mad because there'd be some times that, cause like Claus, I don't know, well, Claus, if you guys don't know, look it up, and Snowfall. There was this Mexican CO. He would like wake us up to Mexican music in the morning. That was cool. And this one time though, I remember I had fallen asleep, and they were getting ready because we would lock down at 7 for shift change, when we would be locked down for an hour, 7 to 8, and then at 8 get out, lock back down at 11 for the night, and then come back out or have breakfast at 5. We would get woken up at 4:30 for pill pass and in the morning, and then we would go back to our cells after breakfast, and then lock down, and then at 7 they would open the doors again, and we were able to program till after lunch. So we were able to be out from 7 in the morning up until after lunch. There'd be some times that we would lock it down. Most of the time we didn't, but sometimes we would lock it down, and then they would let us back out. If we had to lock it down, they would let us back out. It was different. It was either at 1 or 2, then come back out, be out till dinner, and then till after dinner. And then there was a few, like a month that we would go to school. So after dinner we would go to school, and then we would go back after shift change, which was at 8. And yeah, so we were out a lot. And then in SAC though, in SAC is different. In SAC is way different. In SAC they actually separate you, like the gangs and then the females. And we went out for 2 hours in the whole day. Most of the time we were in our cell. The thing that I did like about SAC though, that I hated about Placer, was that in SAC you were able to go back to your cell and eat, or not even go out if you didn't want to eat. And in Placer County, you have to be at the table. Even if you're not going to eat, you have to be at the table and sit there till everybody's done eating, and then go back to your cell. That shit was lame as fuck. I hated it. But yeah. So then, I used to gamble, y'all. We used to gamble for like soups, whatever we had. We used to play spades. I learned how to play spades. That shit was tight. Gambling was tight. It was cool. So then eventually, I eventually ended up going to the hole for politicking. But I don't feel like it was really my fault. Okay, so then there was this girl. Okay, so remember, it was the whites and then the others, which was me. It was me, this black lady that was older, and then my homegirl, Drea. Shout out to Drea. And then it was this other girl that was Filipino. This other girl that was Hmong. And then another Mexican that came at the end, which was my celly. Shout out to my homegirl, Jasmine. And then the white girls that would hang out with us, the others, which were white girls that were like with the shit, you feel me? And it was like 3 of them. And yeah, so one of the girls from the other side started saying that there was paperwork on the Filipino girl, and she started like telling everybody. So then the Filipino girl, she called her out pretty much. Bitch didn't want to fight. And then eventually she kept running her mouth. Mind you, at this point, this was like at the end of my time there. And I was getting ready to, because we were going to go to trial. We had already been there for 6 months. I was going to go to trial. And if we lost, and I was like pretty sure we were going to lose. And so I was, my exposure was going to be 15 years. So I would have got 15 years. And so I was my mind, I'm about to go to prison. So I was getting ready, setting my mind to this new life that I was going to have. So I wasn't giving a fuck at the end. And I ended up in the hole. So, yeah. So, the girl keeps running her mouth, whatever. So then, Filipino girl's finding an opportunity to beat her ass. So every time she would, find the opportunity, the bitch would, pretty much do something to get the cops' attention. And then one day, she just, the Filipino girl, she was just, over it. And she just, after dinner, she took off on her. It was funny. She, came from the back, and she went in front of her, too. Wait. And then it was literally right in front of the cops. She walks away like nothing ever happened, and the cops were like, "You come here." And then, but at this point, a few days before this, there was tension already, because the other white girls were backing the other girl up, because they saying that we were bullying her, but we really weren't. We were just trying to get she was just trying to get to the bottom of it. And, so what had happened before that, though, that led to the girl getting beat up, was that the other ladies, they, started fucking with us, yo, we always used to sit at this table to play our spades, to gamble, and, this specific day, the day before that happened, no, it was actually that same day. Yeah, it was that same day. This specific day after lunch, the girls that are backing, the white girls that are backing this other girl up, they grab our table and they sit on the table they're just antagonizing us straight up. So then the girl gets beat up, and then we're on lockdown for 2 days. They don't let us out. We were eating in our cell. Eventually, they end up moving me and my cellie, and then the Filipino girl to the hole. But we were on lockdown. The girl that fought was programming in the hole. But me and my cellie, we were on 24-hour lockdown. 23-hour lockdown. I used to read most of the time. My cellie, she used to be bored, but I read a lot in jail. A lot. I love reading. But, yeah. And then a little bit after I was, okay, so when I was in the hole, right, they ended up moving us out of the 23-hour lockdown because they needed our cell. So the day before, they dismissed our case, I ended up getting out of the hole. But the only reason why they let us out was, not out of the hole, but out of ADSEG, which was a 23-hour lockdown, because they needed our cell. And, yeah, it was, this lady was literally maybe 7 feet tall, yo. And, so as soon as they put her in the cell, this lady is banging on I started at night. She, you hear her ripping shit up, and I had forgot my pictures there, so I'm like, fuck. So I go and I see this lady just ripping all the books up. I think I had left a Bible in there, ripping the Bible up, and then I'm like, fuck, she might have ripped my picture. And then I asked her if, it was there, and she gave it to me. And then, it was maybe around 12, yo, when, she asked the fucking COs for something when they did their walk, and they told her no, I guess, and she was mad. She was banging on the door all night. She did not stop till 5 in the morning. Literally all night just banging on that door. Then the next morning I had court. That's when our case got dismissed. But yeah, she was annoying as fuck. I couldn't even sleep. We were gonna start picking our jury that day, which is the day that our case got dismissed. But yo, I didn't think I was gonna go home, yo. Like, I was getting ready to do, I was literally, my mindset was ready to go do my, probably like 10 years, 11 years. I was ready. I was like, fuck it, let's run this shit. And, I was honestly shocked when they dismissed her case. I was like, what the fuck? But, so, the day before, you know, you have to go to the court to set for trial. And then when you set for trial, you set for the actual day that you're going to start picking the jury. So we had already set for trial, and then we had gone to pick our jury selection day, which was the first day that we were going to start picking our jury. I got dismissed. It got dismissed, yo. I was like, wait, what? I'm going home? They were like, yeah. And I did not think I was going to go home. Literally, I did not. There was no doubt in my mind that I was going to have to serve some time. For sure. And, because like I said, we were going to trial. And, when it comes to the case, though, like, my case, they kept doing us fucked up, yo, like, okay, so you have the right to go to do a speedy trial, which is within 10 days of you going to jail, or you can waive your 10 days, and then you have the right to go to trial, or which is the first trial is preliminary hearing within 60 days, calendar days. Okay, so we did not waive our 60 days. We were not going to waive our 60 days at all, because once you waive your 60 days, that's when they keep you in there forever. Remember that. And then that's how they end up getting more evidence against you. If you do a speedy trial, they have to work with whatever they got right there, and then if they don't got shit, better for you. But so when we're setting for prelim, we're in 2 months, and they hit my ex with the conflict of interest with his lawyer. So mind you, we had said, like, we had like agreed, me, him, and his brother, that we were not gonna waive no 60 days. So we're in court. They switch his lawyer, and then my lawyer's like, so you're gonna waive your 60 days? And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna waive. And they're like, well, Jose's gonna waive them. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, you're gonna waive your... He's like, yeah, I got to. He's like, they're gonna switch my lawyer. And I'm like, fuck. And I'm like, all right, fuck it. We waive our 60 days, and they have us in there for 4 months. It's 4 months till we finally get to prelim. And after prelim, we had already set for trial. This is 6 months after, okay? So it's 4 months and then 2 months later. So after prelim, if the case gets passed over to court, which is when they decide if the DA has the case to go against you in trial, they pass it over to court. That day it could get dismissed too. So then pass our case over to court, even though it was some bullshit. And then, so then again, you have 60 calendar days to go to trial. And so we weren't going to waive, this time for sure we're not going to waive our 60 days. And so then a week before we go to fucking set for trial, they hit me. She's like, I'm not going to be able to be your lawyer anymore because her law firm had represented the victim in juvenile court and bullshit. So now, and then my lawyer, the one that I had, she was like the best lawyer that they had. And so they switched my lawyer, and I go from having the best lawyer, to having the worst lawyer. Fucking, she was ridiculous. So now this new lawyer, he wants me to waive my 60 days. And I'm like, dude, I'm not waiving no time. And he's like, well, I remember when, because then I go back the next day so they can appoint me a different lawyer. But when when my lawyer first sees me, he's like, whoa. Like, his face expression was funny because I was pissed. I was sitting there pissed as fuck. And especially when I seen him, oh my god, he was like the shittiest lawyer, I swear. He was a nerd. One of those like nerdy fucking fat nerds that like are always late. Their shirt is always one side tucked in, the other one's not. And then their tie is always like fucked up. And they're always with their briefcase and all the papers coming out of it. Closed, but all the papers coming out of it. That type of guy. That was my new lawyer. And he wanted me to waive my time because he was going to go on vacation. Like, what the fuck? No. And so he's like, well, if I don't waive my time, the judge is going to rule against it, which the judge can't do that. But I'm like, oh, well, if the judge wants to go ahead and do that, then he can go ahead and do that. But me personally, I'm not waiving any time. Like, dude, I've been sitting here for 6 months. We're not doing it again. And then on top of that, like, my part in the case was minuscule. It was literally nothing. And my lawyer had already done all the homework. My thing was like that fat, yo, like my files. So he just had to read through everything, which was not a lot, really, because most of it was just like, the investigation and shit. But so then we go to fucking court to set for trial. This time my ex and his brother is there, and we're gonna set for trial finally. And my lawyer is like, well, I need some time to catch up on her case, but she doesn't want to waive any time, so what are we gonna do? And then I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm not waiving any time. And I remember like there was a pause for a little bit, and then my ex and his brother were like, yeah, we're not waiving any time either. And the judge got hella mad. But yeah, so they had to set for trial because I was not waiving any time. I was not. He approached me again when I first went in the courtroom. He's like, so I really need you to waive time. Like, I do not care if I lose. We're going to trial. I don't care. Like, I'm done sitting here not knowing how much time I'm gonna have to sit here for. That's the worst feeling, yo. Like, I remember I used to, the girls that I would meet in there that I would get along with, they used to come and go. And I was just always just sitting there, just with no out date, just still going to freaking court, trying to figure out when I was, I'm like, I don't give a fuck if it's 15 years, but I want to be able to call my family and be like, hey, guess what? I'm going to be home in 15 years. But, I know when I'm coming home. That feeling of not knowing when you're going to go home is fucked up. And after that day when they called me, the first time that they called me for court to let me know that they were going to switch my lawyer, I cried that day. So I had literally never cried in jail. Never. I never cried. A lot of bitches, you can hear them and they're just crying because they're in jail. And me, I did not cry. Like, I was, I'm the type of person, like, I know what I'm getting myself into before I do anything. So I know that there's consequences to some of this shit. And so I'm like, okay, well, this is just a consequence to my actions. So I had never cried, yo. I would just deal with it. And it wasn't really like an emotional thing to me either way. But when that happened, when I cried, but out of frustration, I was pissed. And then so yeah, like I said, the day that we went to go set for jury, the DA is like, well, I'm gonna have to dismiss the case due to insufficient evidence. And I'm like, does that mean I'm going home? And my lawyer's like, I object. And I'm like, wait, no, it's fine. And yeah, that same day, I did not believe it, yo. Like I said, yo, that was God right there for real. Because I had been fucking up. I had been, prior to that was like the worst time in my life. Like I was doing so bad, yo. And after that really like opened my eyes. Like I really seen that as another chance in life, because I was gonna be locked up for fucking a decade at least, yo. Like a decade. I was like 24 at the time. Yeah. So that was such a blessing. And I'm always going to be thankful for that. Always. That was a blessing in disguise. After that, like, I came out and I had a completely different perspective in life. Like, actually, before, I didn't really care about life. But after, I'm like, okay, it made life a lot meaningful. More meaningful. Cut. After that incident, though, after fighting that case and, you know, almost losing my life, almost losing 10 years of my life, 10 to 15 years of my life, that was a big eye-opener, like, that really hit me. Me and my ex and his brother, like, that really, like, that was a wake-up call. Like, bitch, if you keep fucking up, bitch, you about to go to jail, to prison, for a long time. So after now, and I got my shit together, and now I'm here. But I did actually go back to jail in 2020.